for BFM. Here we are covering all the important numericals, theory, question bank, questions, case studies, everything. So follow the series till the end. Also share it with your friends, share it on your social media platforms with all your friends so that others can also benefit. Subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon, okay, so that you get the notifications. And with this, we'll start. Okay, first question. Consider the following statements regarding CBLO. CBLO means what? Collateralized borrowing and lending obligations. So that is known as CBLO. And choose the correct ones. So you have to choose the correct statement regarding CBLO. Okay. Now what is it? It is traded in the secondary market. It can be readily encashed at the requirement of the lender without waiting till the due date. Settlement of CBLO takes place through Clearing Corporation of India. Now, firstly, you need to understand what is CBLO. CBLO means basically collateralized borrowing. Now, what is collateralized borrowing? Borrowing means what? Means what? Collateralized. Here, every loan is a collateralized borrowing, isn't it? Every loan which the bank gives is a collateralized borrowing. So, what is the difference then? Yes, CBLO is basically a money market instrument. Money market means what? It is traded in the bond market. Bond market means secondary market. It's a money market instrument that represents what? Obligation between the borrower and the lender concerning the terms and conditions of the loan. Okay. So, means many of us feel that this CBLO and this repo, they are same. Many of us feel that. Because after all, both of them do the similar job only. So always remember, CBLO is basically for overnight collateralized borrowing. CBLO is for overnight collateralized and lending product backed by the government securities or other approved collateral. So mainly it is backed by the government securities. Okay. So it is for overnight. Remember, repo market is for what? Short-term repo. Means it is generally not overnight, but nowadays repo has also been brought overnight because they are competing with each other. So repo market is basically a short-term borrowing and lending instrument where market participants use securities as collateral for loans. So there is a slight difference. This is overnight and that is longer term. But there are repos also nowadays. Short-term repos are also there overnight. Call money we call it. So now CBLO got it. Now the question over here. So what is true regarding the CBLO? This 1, 2 or 3. Which one is true? So for that you need to think over it. What is the answer? Think. Yes. All of them are true. Correct? All of them. All of them are true. Got it? All of them are true. Why all of them are true? Because here CBLO is traded in the secondary market. That's already told. So that's true. Okay. So all these treasury products, basically CBLO or any product which is traded in the money market instrument, these are all basically the secondary market products. They come from the primary and then traded in the secondary. So it's a money market repo instrument launched by this Clearing Corporation of India. It is used by the banks, primary dealers, and this insurance companies, mutual funds that cannot access the call money market. See this, understand the difference. So just now I told you call money is there under repo, but that can be accessed only through the banks. What about others then? Those who want to participate in this mutual funds, insurance companies, which are not banks. So they can go through this CBLO. Because CBLO is actively traded in the secondary market, the lender can sell and encash the CBLO. Actively traded means it's similar to that of the call money. So it can be traded and sold immediately. If I want to sell it before the maturity, after all it's a bond that is traded in the secondary market. So I can sell it to anyone, okay, without having to wait for the due date. The borrower can also pay off the CBLO anytime by acquiring it in the open market, okay. So Clearing Corporation of India, that settles all this. What is CCIL? See this. CCIL is basically Clearing Corporation of India that deals in the settlement of forex as well as the bonds. Okay, both the things. So what is the answer now? The answer over here is 1, 2, and 3, all of them. Okay, next one. For which of the following instruments interest rate futures is allowed as per RBI guidelines? Interest rate futures is allowed. 91-day T-bill, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year coupon bearing national notional government of India security, coupon bearing government of India security, and all of the above. So which of them RBI has allowed this future trading? Okay, interest rate futures. Think over it. So RBI, if you know, you can directly answer. Okay, if you don't know, that's okay, because it's not expected from every retail banker. Okay, so the answer over here is D again, all of them. Here RBI has allowed this interest rate futures in all these. Okay, all of them. So here it has allowed in this 91-day T-bill. What is 91-day T-bills? Here T-bills are of 3 types: 91, 182. It's a multiplication. Here 91 into 2, 182 into 2, 364. So there are 3 T-bills. Okay, 91, 182, and 364. Then second one, which is shown, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year coupon bearing government of India security. What do you mean by this? These are called as bonds. Okay, sure, both are issued by government only. T-bills are also issued by RBI. Okay, T-bills are issued by RBI, but on the basis of government. Will RBI do it on itself? No. These long-term securities, they are also issued by the government, but through RBI. Government doesn't issue anything itself. Coupon bearing government of India security. Coupon bearing means where the government gives the interest. So that is there are 2 things. One is zero coupon and second is coupon bearing. Coupon bearing means there the government will give interest. Wherever it's a zero coupon, government will not give any interest. Then are the banks and the institutions fool to invest if they don't get interest? In that case, whenever there is zero coupon bond, it is issued at discount. Means what? Suppose if you give me a bond of 100 rupees right now, which is face value of 100. So in this case, what happens? The bond is issued at 95 rupees only. So in the end, when I give you, you give me 100. Right now, I'm giving you 95 only. So net I'm earning, isn't it? So that's why Government of India has allowed these interest rate futures for all of them. Okay. Further, their relaxations are allowed on other exchange traded IRFs also by changing the residual maturity. So government is changing many things now because they need the financial market to grow. The combination of 2 forward transactions is known as spot, forward, swap, and money market trade. Combination of 2 forward transactions. It is, what is it known as, everyone? It is known as, who can tell me? What is spot? Spot means whenever we trade on a immediate basis. Spot right now. Spot is actually what? T plus 2. Okay, T plus 2 is spot. T plus 1 is Tom. T is cash ready, right? And further it is forward. But all the transactions which are done on a spot basis means they are done right now only. No risk is taken. Forward means this is basically a risk business. Risk means I am financing this. So here I'll use the bill rate. Okay. Here I'll use the spot rate in A. And swap means what? Swap is basically the combination of 2 forward. This is the real answer, swap. Always remember in swap, 2-3 things are very important in financial swap. Okay. Financial swap. Always remember, 2-3 things are very important. What are those? Financial swap. Okay, let me show you, because these things you need to be clear in your mind. Number 1, it has 2 legs. Always remember, 2 legs. Okay, one is fixed and other is floating. Okay, fixed and floating. One is fixed, other is floating. Means what? For example, suppose if I take 1 lakh rupees from you and guarantee you 7% rate of interest, guarantee. So that is a fixed leg. But what will I do with that 1 lakh rupees? I'll, let's say, invest in the stock market. So that stock market can give me 50% returns, can give me 100%, can give me zero, can give me negative. So that is floating. So there are two legs, always remember. Second, in swap, it's always principal plus interest which is exchanged. P plus I. All of them are exchanged. Only there is one swap that is called as interest only swap, where only interest is exchanged. So principal plus interest, both the things are exchanged over here. Exchanged. Okay. Exchanged. And third one is a combination of this two forwards. Okay. Two forwards. These are all two forwards combination. Two forwards means everything is in future. Okay. That's why derivative means what? Derivative means everything is in future. So these are the three important points about financial swap. Okay. So two legs, fixed and floating, principal plus interest exchanged, and two forwards. Okay. Combination of two forwards. Okay. Yeah. One more is there. Let me write that also. Different. Yeah. Exchange of cash flows. See this. Exchange of cash flows. Okay. Cash flows means what? This is a sort of RD. Look at this example is RD. RD is basically similar to that of this financial swap only. What do we do in RD? I invest, go on investing every month for 11-12 months, and then afterwards I get this money at the end, right? So that is a exchange of cash flows. Got it? So that the answer for this was swap. Clear? Move on. Next one. A non-performing asset is a loan or advance where, so what is an NPA? Now this is a simple one. Okay. Interest or installment principal remains overdue for more than 45 days in respect of term loan. That is outright no, right? So wrong. Account remains out of order in respect of ODCC. Yeah, out of order it's okay, but for how many days? It should be more than 90 days. Okay. So it's not given. So this will consider it as true because days are not given over here that much. The bill remains overdue for more than 45 days. 45 days in case of bill purchase. 45. Everywhere it's 90 now. Okay. The installment of principal or interest thereon remains overdue for 2 crop seasons for longer duration crop. Longer duration crop, it's always 1 crop seasons here. This is for agri loans, crop loans. Okay. So short duration crops, it is 2 crop seasons. If something remains overdue for 2 crop seasons, okay, then it is called as this short duration crop. Okay. And if it is overdue for more than if it's a long duration crop and it remains overdue for 1 crop season, then it's called as NPA. Means this is the NPA definition for agri loans, for crop loans basically. Yeah. Agri also we have various types of loans. If I give a tractor loan which is not related to crops, then it's a purely commercial loan. So there this 2 crop, 1 crop doesn't apply. Got it? So the answer for this is, this is wrong. So answer is clearly account remains out of order in case of CCOD for 90 days. Okay? Clear everyone? Got it? Anything required in this? I don't think so. Okay? Chalo, move on. Next one. Dash is the management of net interest margin to ensure that its level and riskiness are compatible with the risk returns objectives of the banks. Now understand the concept. Risk return objectives means what? Every bank has decided its risk policy. There is a risk policy for every bank. In that policy they decide how much returns we expect this year and what is the risk we are going to take. Here comes the question of leverage ratio. Leverage. Very important ratio for banking, leverage ratio. Okay, this was there in your JIB. So leverage ratio. Leverage ratio means what? Your assets. Assets means loans. Assets upon your capital, okay, or equity. Assets upon equity, we can call it. Simple word equity. Instead of capital, we'll write it equity. That's simple. So assets upon equity. Okay. So this bank decides on this risk policy how many loans we have to increase with respect to our equity now. So dash is the management of NIM to ensure that the level of and riskiness are within the framework. So asset and liability management, risk management, financial management, and capital adequacy. So which one checks this NIM? So the answer is, who checks? Who checks? Who checks? Who checks? The answer is ALM. Okay, ALM, asset liability management. Always remember, I'll give you one framework. Okay, in any bank, there are various committees. Now, this will clarify your doubt regarding ALM. There is at the top there is always board of directors, BOD, right? Below them there is a committee called as RMCB, Risk Management Committee, CB. This I have taken. I'll take in the paid classes. Details I'll give it over there. Below them there is a committee called as RMCB. Below them, below this RMCB, there is a committee of senior executives. 3 committees of senior executives. What are those? Now comes this picture. So first is this CRMC, Credit Risk Management Committee. Second is this ORMC, Operations Risk Management Committee, and last one is this ALCO. ALCO. Okay. So this is Asset Liability Committee. So this Asset Liability Committee is doing the job of asset liability management, ALCO. It is done by ALCO. Okay. So these 3, now the details I won't give because it will take a lot of time. CRMC measures only credit risk or focuses on credit risk. ORMC focuses on operations. ALCO focuses on market risk. Market means that risk which is not in your hands. Market risk. It is not in your hands. Okay. So that is market risk. So below this there are support groups. Now just to add on this, as we have taken this topic, there are support groups which support them. Support groups. Okay. Support groups below this. So that's why the details I take it in the paid classes over there. So do join them. I'll tell you how to join this at the end. Okay. There's a new batch starting up, a Zeal batch. So I'll tell you. Okay. So let's move on. Next one. Which of the following risk is not captured under the regulatory capital adequacy ratio as per Pillar 2 and Basel II framework? Okay. Interest rate risk in the banking book, credit concentration risk, liquidity risk, settlement risk, reputational risk, not covered. Okay, which of them is not covered in the banking book? Very important one. Which of them is not covered? Okay. What do you think? Not covered under Basel II. Many of us feel Basel means everything. What is it that is not covered over here? Remember, Basel also has certain limitations. Okay, limitations. Okay, I'll give you the answer. The answer is A. Many of you have typed this correctly. Many of you have written also correct A. All of them are not covered. All of them. Okay. Interest rate risk in banking book is not covered. So if it is not covered, then what does it cover? It covers in trading book. Interest rate risk in trading book is covered in Basel. Okay, but not banking book. Credit concentration risk. What is this risk? Credit concentration risk means I'll give if I give 100 rupees loans, out of that 90 rupees loans are given to only one company or one sector. Let's say 90 rupees are given to only FMCG. Complete 90 rupees loans are given to FMCG out of 100. So my whole whole loan gets concentrated in FMCG, right? Third is liquidity risk. Liquidity. Okay, liquidity means I don't have money to pay my simple things also. Means daily working. No money for working. No money for daily working. Daily working. My salary is, so I don't have money to pay the depositors, urgent money. So daily working, I don't have the money. That is known as liquidity risk. Third one, settlement. Settlement means what? This risk is also called as Hurst risk. Okay. So settlement means what? There are in a transaction there are always two parties, right? One is buyer, second is seller. Now what happens if this buyer or one party does some job? Means suppose if I have to sell, let's say, some vegetables to you. Keep it that simple. I have to sell vegetables to you. I am the vegetable seller, you are the buyer. If I give you vegetables and you don't pay me money, so then also it's a settlement risk. Means the transaction is not settled. Similarly, reverse case, you give me money and I don't give you vegetables, then also it's a settlement risk. Same thing happens in banks also. Bank sells the bonds to somebody and that bonds money is to be given by that other party to the bank but not given. So this can be the risk. Okay, settlement. And last one is reputational risk. Something comes in your newspaper. Something bad comes about the newspaper. In the newspaper about your bank. Something more. This bada ghotala, this fraud, and everyone comes in your banks for withdrawal of money. These newspapers give anything. This bank has gone bankrupt. They directly give you without even looking at it. So that is reputational risk. There is one more risk which is not covered over here, but I'll give you. Okay, you must know this. That is strategic risk. Strategic. That is also not covered in this Basel 2. Okay, Basel Pillar 2 of Basel 2 framework. It's not covered. Strategic risk. Okay, that is now covered in Basel 3. Okay, strategic means what? It's a business risk. For example, I'll give you long-term thinking, long-term vision, long vision. I'll give you. Okay, that is not there. So that is basically a strategic risk. Example I'll give you. All of you had this Nokia phones in 2008. Many of us had this. So Nokia phones in 2004 to 2008. Everyone amongst us had this Nokia. Where is Nokia now? Do you see any Nokia phone now? Anywhere? Anyone is having? Okay, just type in your comment section if you are having the Nokia phone. Nobody, right? Why? Nokia company is gone. Why? Because lack of vision. They didn't see Android coming up. That's why. Same thing is happening in banking also. If we don't change as per the expectations of the customer, we'll lose out on the business. Okay. So that's why this is very important. Got it, everyone? Clear? So this long-term vision or strategic thinking is not covered in this Basel 2. Okay. Basel 3 it is covered. Basel 3 it is there now. They have covered this. Welcome to Adda 24/7. We are in the Scholar series for BFM. Here we are covering important theory, numericals, objective questions, case studies. So follow the series till the end. Also watch the series, complete series, not this lecture only, complete series. Okay. Share it with your friends. Share it on all your social media platforms. Like the channel Officers Adda 24/7. Subscribe to it. Click on the bell icon. Okay. Let's start. Which of the following is not correct regarding OTC products? OTC means what? Over the counter. What are over the counter? Means which are directly exchanged with the customer on the counter. Means like simple example I'll give you FD. Fixed deposit. Fixed deposit is an OTC product. Over the counter. Means there is no brain work required in this fixed deposit, right? Rates are given. You have to just follow the rates and move on, right? So what is not correct here? Again, the main point which I always stress in all the lectures is you have to check whether it's a positive question or negative. So this is a negative question. Okay. The derivative products that are indirectly negotiated and obtained from the banks. These are OTC products. These are mostly used for hedging the underlying risk. The price is quoted by the bank and all A, B and C. So what is the answer? See, not correct. You don't want the correct one, huh? You want the not correct. Indirectly negotiated. What do you mean by indirectly negotiated? Here, there are two types of derivatives. Okay, derivatives are of two types. These are of two types. Okay, one is traded in the exchange. Exchange means traded. I'll write it. Traded in exchange. And second one is directly brought from the bank, purchased from the bank, or with the bank. They, yeah, brought from the bank. Would means over the counter. Okay, from the bank. Okay. So which are those? See, there are many assets. Let me give you one example of this. One is this what options, options and futures. Okay, futures. These are traded in the exchanges. Which are the ones which are brought from the bank? This is forwards, forward market, right? Forwards, forward. Okay. So this forward is brought from the market, right? There are many swaps. Swaps are also brought from the bank, bank assets, not from the market. Okay. So indirectly traded. So are these the derivative products which are indirectly traded? See this. OTC means which are traded in the exchange. These are OTC. Okay. But these are not OTC. Brought from the bank. This is not OTC. So this is false. These are mostly used for hedging the underlying risk. That is obvious. Here, hedging is, this point is common for both. For traded in the exchange also and brought from the bank also. It is common for both. The price is quoted by the bank. Okay, so here OTC we are talking of, OTC. So here the price will be quoted by the bank only. Even if it is OTC, you'll say, how come, sir? How come OTC quoted by the bank? Because it is traded in the exchange. Here, bank will add its margin to it. Traded means what? That is the base rate given in the exchange, but bank will add the margin. So the answer over here is not correct. That is A. Okay, A is the answer which is not correct. Remember this. When parties enter into the contract to deliver foreign currency on the future date at a fixed exchange rate, it is known as foreign currency into a future on a future date. Okay, with a fixed exchange rate, fixed. Okay, so it is known as what? Forward, future, options and swaps. What is it called as? It is called as, everyone? Yes, comment section. Write in the comment section, please. Yeah, it is called as. Okay, I'll give you the options in this. It's either forward or futures, either of these two. Okay. Now the hint is given. The answer is forward. This is the answer. Forward. Okay. See here, what are futures here? Or remember one thing, future and forward are similar. Similar, I won't say same. Only the difference is, in forward there are two parties. Forward, there are two parties. Two parties. Two parties means buyer and a seller. Okay. Buyer and a seller. Buyer and seller. Okay, these are the two parties. In future there are three parties. Three parties. Okay, which are those three parties? These two are the same. I'll mark them as they are. Okay, plus third one is exchange. Exchange. Okay, this is the third party. So always remember, future is a regulated forward. Regulated means there is the exchange who deals with all the regulations. Here the rules and regulations are decided by these two parties only. Okay, so future is a regulated forward. Got it? Clear? Next one. So options and swap I'll explain someday later whenever the topic comes. Okay, when the buyer has to pay the interest in rupees and principal in USD, the borrower may hedge only interest rate. It is known as principal only swap, currency only swap, coupon only swap and interest only swap. What is this called as? See here, buyer has to pay the interest in rupees and principal in USD. So this borrower may hedge the interest rate in what? Hedge only interest rate. It is known as what? Interest only. Now all of you, I am seeing the answer. Majority of you are typing this. Interest only. Okay, because the word interest is there. Because the word interest is there, all of you are typing interest only, sir. But the answer is wrong. Answer is coupon only. See here, The interest rate on any bond or any fixed payment is known as coupon in international market. So this is called as coupon only swap, not interest only swap. Okay. Sure, when the currency is hedged with the, it will be the principal only swap, means currency complete, only one currency. When only currency is hedged, it's called as principal only swap. When the interest is hedged, it is called as coupon only swap. Okay. When the buyer has to pay the interest in rupees and principal in USD, this case, the borrower may hedge only the interest rate. It is known as coupon only. Here, logic is very simple. Here, what will I hedge? Hedge means what? Reducing the risk. Reducing. Where will my risk be reduced? Here, I am getting principal in USD and interest in rupees. Okay. Now imagine here we are talking the borrower or the buyer. Okay, borrower or buyer. So both are same. So here we are talking the borrower or buyer is from other country, is let's say USA. Borrower or buyer is from USA. Borrower is from USA. That's what the logic is. Understand the logic of the question. Okay, the borrower is of USA. So this borrower is getting principal in USD. So the borrower has no problem, he or she, right? Same USD. No currency problem, but rupee is a problem, because rupees this borrower will have to convert it into dollars. So this rupees needs to be converted into dollars. So here it's a risk. And wherever there is a risk, hedging is done. Right? So that's why it's called as coupon only. Let's solve this. This is a big case study. This, I think so, it will consume almost 10 minutes roughly. Let's see. Because this is a very important case study. It comes for 5 marks in the exam. So XYZ Limited has RWA, risk weighted assets. If the credit and the operational risk are 5,000 crore, market risk is 2,000 crore, paid up capital is 100 crores, free reserves is 200 crores, PNCP, perpetual non-cumulative preference shares, is 300 crores, provisions for contingencies, it's 100 crores, revaluation reserves, these are 200 crores, subordinate debt, that's 100 crores. Calculate the total capital of XYZ Limited approximately. Okay, so you have to calculate the total capital, simple. Okay, total capital you have to calculate. Now let's see how to calculate the capital. Firstly, understand the formula. Where has this come from? This has come from CRAR. CRAR is known as Cook's ratio. So capital upon RWA. Capital upon RWA, risk weighted asset. Okay, that is Cook's ratio. Okay. Now you have to calculate the total capital. Capital means what? You want T1 plus T2, Tier 1 plus T2. See here, capital is of 2 types. It's of 3 types. T2. T3 is known as emergency capital. Emergency. So we don't take that into calculations. Emergency. Okay. So T3 is the emergency capital. We don't take that in calculation. So only T1 and T2. T1 is known as a free capital. What does T1 include? T1 is known as a free capital. Going concern. Going free capital. Here it includes 4 elements. One is shares. Second is net profit. Third is reserves and surplus, R&S. And fourth is revaluation reserves. These are the 4 elements in T1 capital. Revaluation reserves. Okay. 4 elements in this T1 capital. Okay. T2 capital. What does it include? T2 is a gone concern. T2 is known as a gone concern. Paid up. Okay. Gone concern. So gone means what? It's already paid. Interest. Fixed interest. I'll call it fixed interest, because here you have to pay fixed interest. Means what? Suppose if I take a loan from the bank for my business. I'm starting a business. I take a loan from the bank. So whether my business will run or not run, I'll have to pay the fixed interest to the bank. So that is known as T2. Other than these 4 elements, all the elements are in T2. So all these now you will be seeing provision for contingencies. Okay. These are all in T2. Yeah. One more thing in T1 is there. 2 things I didn't mention it over here. This is for CT1 actually. This part is here. Again I'll write it. T1 is of two types. T1 is of two types. Okay, two parts it is. One is CET1, common equity tier 1. And second one is known as AT1, additional tier 1. So CET1 has these four elements, whichever I have written it just now. I'll just write the short forms now. Shares, net profit, reserves and surplus, and revaluation reserves, RR. Okay. So these four elements which are over here. Okay, these four elements. So they are in CET1. AT1 we have two more elements. One is PNCP, perpetual non-cumulative preference shares, and IPDI, innovative perpetual debt instruments. These are the part in AT1. Got it? AT1. Are you able to see this? Shall I write it somewhere else? One sec. Let me write it over here. AT1. So that consists of PNCP and IPDI. Got it? So now you have to calculate this T1 and T2 capital both. So how to calculate it? See this. If the credit and operational risk is given as 5,000 crores, market risk is given as 2,000 crores, paid up capital is 100 crores. So now go on calculating. So T1 capital is what? T1 capital is directly, can we find it out? Yeah, I think so. We are having it now. What are we having it? Paid up capital 100 crores. See this. Paid up means what? This is shares. So this 100 I'll add. Then free reserves means reserves and surplus 200 crores. That also I'll add. PNCP, that is also a part of T1 only. So 300 I'll add. Provision for contingencies, that's not a part of T1. Okay. Revaluation reserves, yes, this is, but revaluation reserves are always taken at 55% discount. See this, one important part about RR is always taken at 45%. I'll directly write it. Whatever is the figure, take 45%, means 55% discount we call it. So now T1 will be what? T1. Go on adding 100 crores, that is paid up, 100 crores paid up, plus free reserves 200 crores, plus what? PNCP 300 crores, plus what? Contingencies, this is a part of T2. This I'll write it 2 over here. Okay. Revaluation reserves 200 crores, but that I'll take it at what? 45%. So plus 200 into 45%. 45%, whatever that figure is. Okay, so 90, I think so, right? Subordinate debt, that's a part of T2. This is 2. Okay, so now calculate it. So my T1 is what? T1 is 100 plus 200 plus 300 plus this 90, right? So 3 plus 3, 6. 6 plus 200, 90. 690. This is my T1 capital. 690 CR. Okay. What is my T2 now? T2 capital equals to, see this, what's remaining now? T2. This 200 crores, what is that? Free reserves, anything over here, market risk, let me see. Okay. Now let's focus on T2. T2. So T2 equals to what? Market risk 2000, paid up capital, free reserves 200, not there, PNCP not there, provision for contingencies 100 crores. See this provision for contingencies, it's always taken at 1.25% of RWA or given figure, whichever is higher. See here 1.25% of RWA, or given figure, okay, given figure, okay. 1.25% of RWA or given figure, whichever is what, higher or lower? Whichever is, does anyone know this? Whichever is, yeah, what is it? Higher or lower? Whichever is higher, okay, whichever is higher. So higher of these two, higher. So now go on calculating. So what is the answer? 1.25% of what is RWA now? 1.25% risk weighted asset. It's already given over here. See this, RWA for credit and ops together is 5,000 and market risk is 2,000. So add it, combine them now. 5 plus 2, 7. So 7,000. 1.25% of 7,000. Okay, so find it. Plus, now this is 1. But second is what? Provision for contingencies 100 crores. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Provision for contingencies is given as 100 crores. So now what will you do in this provisions for contingencies? So we'll have to adjust between these two figures, right? 1.25% of 7,000 or 100 CR, right? Whichever is higher. Okay, this 100 CR is given in the question. Provisions for contingencies 100 CR. So 100 CR or 1.25% of 7,000, whichever is higher. Okay, plus which is the second one? Subordinate debt, that is 100 crores. So take it as it is. Subordinate is as it is. So 100. What is my answer now? Here higher I have to take. Here 7,000 and 1.25%. So it is what, roughly around 87 point something or 77, right? Calculate it. Everyone calculate this. 1.25% of 7,000. So what is the answer? Okay. 1.25 into 7,000, right? Divided by 100. Divided by 100. So it is 87.5. Okay. So you are getting this figure as 87.5. So now 87.5 or 100, whichever is higher. So it is 100. So I'll take this as 100 plus 100. So that is equal to 200 CR. So what is my total capital now? 690 plus 200. So my total capital is 690. Where is the space? Let me see. This full slide is packed, right? So I'll write it over here. Final figure 690 plus 200. So that is equal to 890, right? 890. This is my total capital and this is what is required approx. Okay. So 890 is my total capital. That's why I said this case study will take around 10 minutes because 5 minutes go for explanation. What is this case study about? What is T1? What is T2? What is CET1? What is 81? All these things require some time, right? Otherwise, what happens? Only this part, if I have to show you this calculation, that can be done in hardly how many? 2 minutes, right? So now, before going, yeah, clear? Okay. So before going, let me tell you, join the Adda 24/7 Zeal batch coming up. Immediately join it. Okay. In Zeal batch, see here, just now started. Here we are covering the important theory, numericals, objective questions, case studies. So follow the series till the end. Also follow the complete series. Share it with your friends. Share it on all your social media platforms. Okay. And importantly, don't forget to like, subscribe the channel Officers Adda 24/7. Click on the bell icon. Okay, let's start. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the loan review officers? Loan review officers. So which of them? He can be a fresher without any expert knowledge on credit appraisal. My God, isn't it? Loan review officers. Huh? He should also be well versed with the relevant laws, regulations that affect the lending activities. Independence of loan review officer should be ensured. A and C, B and C, A and B. What do you think should be the answer? Obviously, one is out. All of you know one is out because loan review officer means what? Basically, it's a sort of auditor, credit audit. Okay, so this person cannot be a fresher. Loan review officer should have sound knowledge of the appraisal system, lending practices, then loan policies of the bank. That should be known very clearly to that person. What does the bank policy know? Say. They should also be well versed with the relevant laws and regulations given from various agencies. It can be RBI, it can be some other department. Okay. So they should be well versed with this. The independence is very important. Independence means here he should not be a line function. See here, there are two functions. One is line function and second is staff function. Okay. Line function means what? That person is directly reporting to somebody and it's somewhere involved in the business. So that person should be separate. The independence of the LRO means loan review officer should be ensured, and the findings of the reviews should be reported directly to the BOD, Board of Directors, okay, or that RMCB, anyone, board or the RMCB committee, anyone. So that is an important point. Got it? So the answer is B and C. Okay, means basically this B. Next one. Which of the following off balance sheet exposure items come under low risk category? Low risk, okay? Low risk category. Swaps, LCs, money guarantees and indemnities. Low risk categories. I know many of you will type this answer as either LC or indemnity. Many of you will type this either B or D. I'm seeing this. Let me see in the comment section. Let me see in the comment section, everyone. Yeah. Low risk. We are talking of risk over here. The answer is, let me see. Yeah. The answer is A, swaps. Okay, swaps are the low risk instruments. You'll say, what swaps? We don't know. Many of us don't even know swaps, right? See here, what is swap? Basically, remember, we call it financial swap. Financial swap means basically exchange. Financial swap. Okay, we know that swapping, isn't it? So, financial swap. So, this financial swap has 3 to 4 important points. Very important points. One is, it has 2 legs. Okay, one is fixed and other is floating. Floating, okay? Number 1. Number 2, this has exchange of cash flows. Very important. Exchange of cash flows means one will be one-time payment and other will be serial payment, means regular payment. Exchange of cash flows. Okay, and third one is, here you have 2 legs, exchange of cash flows and principal plus interest. Here, always while exchanging, principal plus interest, both are exchanged over here. Both are exchanged. That is the only difference between swap and FRA. In FRA, this only interest is exchanged, notional. Whereas in swap, principal plus interest both are exchanged. Okay. So these are the 3 important terms. There is one more. It's related to cash. Then one more is this. It can be in any type of instrument. Means it can be related to forex also. It can be related to INR also. It can be related to a mixture also. Forex and INR. One leg is forex, other leg is INR. It can be happen anything. Okay. So basically swap is a low risk instrument. Why? Because we are exchanging something. Banks should classify their off balance sheet exposure into 3 categories. One is full risk. Okay, full risk means what? Credit substitutes like standby LC, general financial standby LC. Okay, takeover finance. That also takeover is without conditions. Okay, unconditional takeover. So standby LCs, money guarantees. These are all full-fledged, full risk. Medium risk. Medium risk means what? That 50% performance guarantees. Okay. So which are not the direct substitutes of financial and they are related to performance. And last one is low risk. Low risk means all this LC, currency, swap, derivatives are basically low risk. Remember, all the derivatives, this swap, FRA, futures, these are all low risk because we don't take major risk in these elements. Okay. So the answer is this, swaps. Okay. Which of the following activities are included in treasury management? Which are included in treasury management? Always check the question whether it's positive or negative. Which are included or which are not included. That's what you have to check always. Fund management, risk management, forex operations, profit maximization. So which of them are included? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think? Treasury management, what do we focus on? We should focus on, do we focus on fund management? Yes, obviously. Do we focus on risk? Yes. Do we focus on forex? Yes. Do we focus on profit maximization? Yes. So all of them. because all of them are the key roles of any treasury person, all of them, right? See here, the logic behind this is how it works. See this, forex treasury management is nowadays what? It's called as integrated treasury, right? Means it integrates the markets to the banking activities. So complying with the reserves, CRR, SLR, that is the prime duty of treasury. Global cash management, that has also become a new duty of treasury with regards to this integrated treasury management. Okay. Optimization of profits by maximizing the opportunities. I won't say returns, because your returns can't be maximized. They can be optimized. If you go for maximum risk, maximum returns, you'll get maximum risk. Don't do that. Okay. So risk management is an important activity. We have to get a medium risk and medium returns. Okay. Assisting the banking operations, trading, this risk management in the multi-currency environment. All these are the jobs of this treasury nowadays. So these are all included. Okay. So basically, it also focuses on balance sheet management. That is also an important part. Managing the balance sheet in coordination with the other banking operations. Okay. So various things have gained importance in treasury nowadays. Treasury is not only that department which just takes cash and puts it in the market bonds. It is an integrated treasury now. Okay. The process of integrating domestic market with a foreign market requires free flow of capital, which can be through which of the following routes. Means capital, money in, money out. For dollars, okay, we are mainly talking of dollars or any other currency. Okay. So through which route? Portfolio investment, external commercial borrowing, issue of equity debt in global market, FII investing in long-term funds in domestic companies, payment of technology transfer, royalties, all of the above. What do you think is the answer? Obvious answer. Obvious answer. What is the obvious answer? All of them, isn't it? See here, portfolio investment, it's a part of your money in, money out. ECB, right? Issue of equity debt in a global market, that is also one part of through which you can get the money. FII is investing, that is also one part. Technology transfer, isn't it? That's a major part nowadays, right? We are all focusing on tech transfer. And royalties. Royalties means what? Whenever you transfer the technology, you'll get some royalties. So the answer is D, all of the above. Okay. So importantly, remember, what do you mean by this tech transfer and this domestic market, foreign inflow? For integrating this domestic market with this global market, we need funds. If you have to grow, you need funds, right? So you have to go in the global market now. So you'll be needing the funds, and minimum capital regulations will be there, regulatory intervention. So portfolio investment can be done through these FPIs, foreign portfolio investors. Means these FIIs investing in this stocks and bonds. Direct investment means FDI. That company purchases the land, sets up a shop here or factory over here, and then various persons are employed. That is FDI. ECB means you buy the loans. Okay. Greater than 3 years is called as ECB. Less than 3 years is generally called as trade credits, depending on the purpose. But mergers and acquisition, that is also an important part. Plus royalties. Okay, royalty is an important part. In royalty, what happens? Suppose if there is a company, let's say Ford car manufacturing. I'm just giving an example. Ford transfers technology to Bharat. Okay, and then now the cars are manufactured here along with the technology here. So that Ford will ask for some royalty. So obviously that is a royalty for which they are allowed to and eligible to. Okay. Scheduled commercial banks are allowed to borrow maximum of -% of the capital funds during a fortnight in a call or notice market. So scheduled commercial banks means all this what private and this nationalized banks. So we are allowed to purchase how much during a fortnight in call or money market during a fortnight. Fortnight means 15 days. It's not 1 day or 2 days. Okay, we are talking of 15 days. So how much funds can we purchase? Yeah, it is 125%. During the fortnight it is 125%. Okay. So here on an average, daily average from the reporting fortnight, A bank shall always purchase not exceeding 100%. Now look at this, there's a confusion over here. You cannot purchase on a daily basis, okay, more than 100% of the latest audited balance sheet. However, the banks are allowed for 125% of the capital funds on any day. Means total you can purchase up to 100% of your balance sheet total in a fortnight, and 125% is per day, but not maximum below beyond that. The lending, now this is purchasing. How much money I get? That is, I can't get more than 125% on a daily basis. 125% on a daily basis, and 100% completely over the fortnight. And how much can I lend then? How much can I give? So for lending, it is 25%. I can't give more than 25% of my capital funds. Okay. So this is the logic followed by RBI. Okay. Got it, everyone? Move on. So for purchasing it is 125, and for lending it is this 25%. Which of the following are issued for a tenure less than 91 days to meet the temporary cash requirement? Very simple one. Commercial paper, CMB, cash management bills, treasury bills, and certificate of deposit. Which of them is used for less than 91 days? Here, 91 days you already know. It is T-bills. What are T-bills? Okay, let me clarify those points also. See this. T-bills are basically treasury bills. Okay, T-bills. They are issued in three categories. Okay, 91 days, 182 days, table of 2. Okay, means just go on multiplying, and the last one is 364. So these three categories, these T-bills are issued. Okay, but below 91 days, what do I do? So this T-bills is out. It is called a CMB, cash management bill. Okay, cash management bill. Now let's dig a bit deeper into the CMBs. Now CMBs are what? Short-term money market instrument issued by RBI. Short-term means less than 91 days on behalf of the central government to meet the immediate cash needs. Investment in these bills is reckoned as an eligible investment for the SLR purpose. So SLR, you can take this CMBs also. Okay, they have features similar to those of the treasury bills, but a period less than 91 days. So same, CMBs are not different than the treasury bills, T-bills. They are just for the shorter period. That's it. Okay. RBI has made a separate press release. It has to make separate press release for issuing these CMBs. Okay. Means suppose if RBI wants to issue these CMBs tomorrow, it should make a press release today. Okay. One day prior to the date of the auction, and settlement of the auction is on the T+1 basis. T+1 means suppose if I purchase the bonds today, okay, so tomorrow I'll be getting it in my account, T+1. However, the non-competitive bidding scheme for treasury bills is not extended to CMBs. Non-competitive bidding scheme means this is a separate aspect. Okay, the bills are tradable and ready qualify for ready forward facility of repo or reverse repo. So they are used in repo and reverse repo transactions also, these CMBs. Okay, so what is the important point from the exam point of view? Less than 91 days, settlement on T+1 basis. Okay, and press release before giving this, right, and given by government, issued by RBI on the basis of the government. Okay. CBLO, collateralized borrowing and lending obligation, a money market instrument issued by whom? Who issues CBLO? Clearing Corporation, RBI, government, SEBI. Who issues CBLO? It's a trick. Okay, CBLO is issued by whom? Clearing, RBI, government, SEBI. See here, firstly remember SEBI is out from it. Okay, because we are in bank, so we don't deal in SEBI. Okay, some rules and regulations are there of SEBI, but that's a separate minor ones. Okay, important one is this: RBI, Government of India, clearing. So answer is CCIL, Clearing Corporation of India. Okay, CBLOs are always issued by this Clearing Corporation of India. CBLO, what is CBLO basically? It's a money market instrument. Okay, issued by this CCIL. It's a repo instrument. Remember, it's a repo instrument which can be used by banks primary dealers and FIs, financial institutions, all these insurance companies, mutual funds, everyone. Okay, who cannot access the money market. Very important. Who cannot access the money market? Who can access the money market? Commercial banks. All the commercial banks can access the scheduled commercial banks can access the money market. Means what? What do you mean by money market? Isn't it? Just saying money market is not enough. What is money market? T-bills and the CMBs. Just now what I told you. Cash management bills and T-bills. These are purchased by the banks. Now if suppose there is a mutual fund company, what will they say? Sir, we don't have anything. So what do I do in that case? In that case, they are given this option of CBLO. Okay, so CBLO can be purchased by those persons who cannot purchase this this money market instruments. Then you will say, can bank purchase? Because bank can purchase money market. So CBLOs can also be purchased by the banks. Banks are allowed to deal in any market. Okay. So that is basically the CBLO purpose. Okay. More on this later someday. Okay. Because it is a huge topic itself. CBLO is itself a big topic. Okay. Got it, everyone? Clear concept? CBLO. Okay. Hi friends. Welcome to Adda 24/7. We are in the Scholar series for BFM. We are covering all the important theory, numericals, objective questions, case studies. So follow the series till the end. Complete video. Also follow the complete series. Okay. Share it with your friends. Share it on all your social media platforms. Also like this channel. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell icon. Do it right now. Okay. So let's start. First one. Let us suppose that the spot rate of USD dollar per euro is spot euro 1 equals to USD 2.543. The exchange rate for 3 months forward is euro 1 equals to USD 2.678. What will be the forward point? Now first understand, euro's rate is greater than that of the USD. Remember, euro is bigger than USD. Okay, in rates, at least in rates I am talking. That's why 1 euro will be something of USD. Okay, so that's why it's given as 2.543. Means what? See here, if I have to buy 1 euro, see here, this is a spot market. Spot means present market, today's market. In spot market, if I have to buy 1 euro, okay, then I have to buy equals to, I have to give how many dollars? 2.543 dollars. This much dollars I have to give in spot. Now second point, look at it. The exchange rate forward is for 3 months is 1 euro equals to 2.678. So this forward market, there are two markets. One is spot, second is forward. So in forward market, what is happening? 1 euro is costing 1 euro equals to over here. Here it is 2.678. 2.678. So in forward, what is happening? The rate is higher. In spot, it is lower. Now you want the forward point. What is the forward point? Here, forward point is simply the difference. 8 minus this, subtract it. 8 minus 3, 5, then 3, then here 1, and this 0. Okay, so 0.135. So this is in point. Multiply this by and means 1000, because this is point. So the answer will be 135 points. Forward point is always the difference between the forward rate and the spot rate. If this is higher, say this forward rate is higher, then we say the currency is in, what do we say? If forward rate is higher than the spot rate, what do we say? The currency is in premium or discount? The currency is in premium or discount? What do you say? Comment section, everyone. It is in premium. Remember, premium. If say, reverse thing is also true, forward less than spot, okay, then the currency is in discount. What do we do in premium and discount? Whenever you have the premium currency, you always add it to the spot rate. Whenever you have a discount currency, you always subtract it from the spot rate. Got it? Next one. An investor is considering the purchase price of following bond. So they want to purchase this bond. What is given about this bond? Face value is given as 100 rupees. Coupon rate is given as 15%. Maturity is given as 1 year. If she wants a yield of 13%, what is the maximum price which she should pay? Here, first thing you always understand, in bond, this you have done it in your JIB, but again revise. Okay, in bond there are two types of elements. Total there are 5 elements in bonds. 5 elements. Which are those 5 elements? So let's write them. Say this. First is face value. Face value. Face value. Second is this maturity. Maturity. Okay, means how many days are remaining for maturity. Third one is coupon. Coupon. Okay. Then next one, remaining 2 are over here. Market price of the bond. Market price. And last one is market rate. Market rate. Okay. So this is called as R. This is called as P. This is called as F. This is called as N. And this is called as C. Always remember, C is never in percentage. C should always be brought in rupees. Always bring them in rupees. Interest will always be in percentage. Remember this by heart. Market rate will always be in percentage. Coupon should always be brought in rupees. Now focus on the problem. See here, these are called as static. Static means they don't change at all. Never ever in the life of that bond this C will change, N will change or F will change. These are called as dynamic. Dynamic means they will change. Dynamic. Okay, they will change. Market price will change and market rate will change. They always change in the opposite direction. If market price goes up, R will go down. It's always reverse. Okay. And if R goes up, P will go down. So now look at the problem. You have to find the present value of the bonds. Here, how much price should that buyer pay? She should pay. So this equals to the price of the market. Here, what is given over here first? Face value is given as 100, so market 100 over here. Maturity is given as 1 year, so market 1 year over here. Coupon is given as 15%. Bring it to rupees. So 15% on what? Coupon is always on face value. Always on face value. So 15% on 100. So this coupon will be what? 15 rupees. 15 rupees. This will be the coupon. Market price we don't know. This is a question mark. And market rate we know 13%. 1 3. Got it? So out of 5 elements, 4 are known to you. You have to find the market price. How to find out the market price? So market price equals to, there are two parts always in the bond. Again, any bond. One is lump sum. Okay. And second is annuity. There are always two parts in any bond calculations. Lump sum and annuity. Lump sum means what we get from the face value. Present value of the face value. See this, price means what? We are finding the present value. Present value of both lump sum and annuity. So in lump sum, what am I finding? Present value of the face value. Face value, when will I be getting? Maturity 1 year. So I'll be getting after 1 year. So what is the today's value? Okay. So lump sum, this, and annuity. What is the coupons which I'll be getting? So that again, here we calculate for coupon. Okay. Now let's calculate one by one. See here, what do we do? Actually, we bring it to the present value. This. And this present value means we bring everything to today's value. This is your target. Okay, we call it discounting over here. This concept is called as discounting. There are two concepts, compounding and discounting. Okay, so now lump sum. How to calculate this lump sum? See, this lump sum is calculated using face value upon 1 plus r raised to n. 1 plus r raised to n. This is simple compound interest formula. So face value is what? 100. What is r? 13%. So make it 0.13. Okay. So 1 plus 0.13 raised to n. What is n? Years 1. So 100 upon 1.13. So what is the answer? 100 upon 1.13, calculate everyone. What is the answer for 100 upon 1.13? Yeah, 100 upon 1.13. Everyone give me the answer. 100 upon 1.13. Calculate it. Everyone calculate it. You'll get it approximately 88 point. Everyone, yeah, 88.49. Okay, 49. Done. Now for annuity. Annuity means what? Coupon. For this, which formula do you use for annuity? C into present value formula. Annuity 1 plus R raised to n minus 1 the whole upon R into 1 plus R raised to n. Ordinary annuity formula we use it, right? What is C over here? Coupon amount. What is the coupon amount? Write it. So coupon amount 15 rupees into 1 plus R. So 1.13 raised to 1. See this 1.13 raised to 1 minus 1 the whole upon R. So 0.13, right? Into 1.13 raised to n means raised to 1, right? So solve this now. So this becomes 1.13 minus 1.13. This gets cancelled. So upon 1.13. So 15 upon 1.13. So the answer over here is 15 upon 1.13. So what is the answer? 15 upon 1.13. So what is your answer? Final 15 upon 1.13. I'll write it over here. So it is, what are you getting everyone? 15 upon 1.13. So it is 13.27. 13.27. So what is the present value of the bond now? So present value equals to lump sum plus annuity. So 88.49 plus 13.27. So do the addition now. What is the answer you are getting? Yeah. $101.76 roughly. Yeah. So that is your answer. 101.76. This is your answer B. Present value of the bond is always calculated using this formula, lump sum plus annuity. Okay. Never ever forget this formula, because this is, although it's a JIB part, but it is asked in CAIIB also. Okay, it is asked in CAIIB also. Remember this. One. Chalo. For the below given statements, reading regarding the commercial paper, choose the correct one. So these are the statements. So choose the correct one. So what are the statements? Let's look at it one by one. Okay, A. And then I'll mark it separate, B. Then C is there, C, yeah, C. Okay, so three statements are given. You have to choose which one is correct. Let's see one by one. For issuance of commercial paper, a minimum credit rating shall be P-2 of CRISIL or such equivalent rating by the other agencies. Okay, so if I want to issue the commercial paper, my minimum rating shall be P2, not -2, P2 it is. Okay, it should be P2. Okay. Second, all India financial institutions, primary dealers cannot raise finance through CP. Cannot raise. So all India financial institutions means all big institutions and primary dealers cannot raise this finance through CP. Is it true? Next one. What is the other one? This. A company to issue CP shall have a tangible net worth of at least 4 crores in its past audited balance sheet. So it should have at least 4 crores as its net worth. So which one is correct over here? What do you think should be the correct answer over here? Firstly, what are commercial papers? Commercial papers are unsecured money market instruments. Unsecured. Okay. It is issued for, see here, when your bank gives the finance, every company requires finances. The finance can be got through bank as a part of loan, or through equity shares, or through the marketplace using the bonds. Now the bonds can be of various types. If the company issues the bonds, private company, it's called as debentures or various forms. Company issues commercial papers also. CP is also a sort of bond only, where we promise something. Okay. So these are money market instruments. It can be issued by highly rated corporates. Now highly rated corporates means what? All those who are having the good rating. Now what is the good rating? Good rating here means P2, minimum P2 by CRISIL. Okay. All those who are having the minimum P2 rating by CRISIL, they can only issue commercial paper. Otherwise others can't. Okay. So which statement is correct now? Which statement is correct now? So statement number 1 is correct, right? P2. All India financial institutions, primary dealers cannot raise CP. This is wrong. This is wrong. Why? Because it is basically meant for them only. Okay. So the all India FIs and these primary dealers, they are, they are the main this partners in this, or the intermediaries in this. Okay. So are eligible to issue the CP. So all of them are eligible to issue the CP. See, this CP and everything comes where? Because you have to raise money, and private institutions other than banks have very limited options, like CBLO or this what commercial paper. Okay, so this is false. What about the C1? A company to issue the CP should have a tangible net worth of 4 crores at least. So that is true. That is true. Okay, because this is the net worth required. Minimum net worth required is 4 crores. Okay. So tangible net worth should not be less than 10 crores. The working capital limit of a company from a banking institution shall not be less than 4 crores. That is also one point. Here it's not given, but the question is working capital limit shall also be not less than 4 crores. Only then the company can issue the CP. Okay, got it? Now what is the primary dealer? See this, you got this word primary dealer over here. What is a primary dealer? A primary dealer is a bank or other financial institution that has been approved to trade in securities with national government. Trade in securities. In many countries, these primary dealers are only the entities who can make bid for newly issued government securities. There are two things. One is primary market, second is secondary market. So in India, what can they do? Approved to trade in government securities, trade also. They can bid for the primary bonds also, they can deal in the secondary market also, both of them. Okay. So primary dealers in India can have both access to both the markets, primary market also and secondary market also. Got it? So which is the correct option now? A and C. So answer is C. Okay. Which of the following are the examples of operating expenses? Examples of operating expenses of a bank. Payment of provident fund, gratuity to the staff, depreciation of the bank property, law charges, advertisement, interest on borrowing and refinance to RBI directors' fees. So which of them are the operating expenses now? What is the answer? Is it payment of provident fund gratuity? Is it that depreciation of this bank property, law charges, advertisement, or interest on borrowings? Means whatever I have borrowed, I'll have to pay back the interest and refinance from RBI. Is it a part of operating expense? So the answer is only 1 and 2. Remember, only 1 and 2. These are the only operating expenses. Okay, 1 and 2. Only operating expenses. Why? Let me explain. See this. The operating expense refers to the expense incurred for running that bank. Okay. Components of operating expenses include. So what will they include? Payments and provisions for employees. It includes staff salaries, wages, PF, gratuity, all these, staff welfare, HRA, HRA given to the staff, all these. This for the bank now, for the running the branch, rent, taxes, lighting, right? All these, electricity, rent paid by the bank on the vehicles also. Bank is having the cars, many banks, right? So at a senior level. So these cars, the rent of these cars, other charges, okay, printing and stationery. This is also part of running expenses. So advertisement, this is also part of running expense. Okay. Then what is not running expense? See this interest on borrowings and refinance from RBI. That is not a part of refinance. Running expense. Why? Because that is basically a separate, altogether different business. That is not a core business of the bank. Refinance from RBI means what? Suppose if I discount a bill, let's say I'll give you a simple example. What do you mean by refinance? Okay. Suppose if I am, let's say XYZ bank. Okay, I am XYZ bank. Now this bank, there is a NBFC. Let's say example Muthoot Finance. Muthoot Finance has given some, let's say 1000 crore tractor loans, 1000 CR tractor loans or gold loans. Let's say gold loan. Why tractor loan? Let's take simple. Muthoot is in gold finance. So let's take it gold finance. So this Muthoot Finance has given 1000 crores of gold loan. So this is known as finance. What is refinance then? Refinance means Muthoot Finance will come to this XYZ bank and tell them, see, I am having this 1000 crore of gold loan, standard loans. Important is standard loans. Standard. So Muthoot will tell them it's a standard loan. So what you do? You give me 800 crores out of this. So what will be the deal between the XYZ bank and Muthoot? XYZ bank will give them 800 CR and purchase these loans. Purchase. Okay. Muthoot will sell these 1000 crore loans. Sell. Okay. To this XYZ bank. So basically this is a dealing. Or it can be a separate agreement. Purchase sell may not be the agreement. It's just a financing agreement that I will finance you and you will pay me later. Either of these two things can be done. Okay. So this is known as refinance. So this refinance, this is one example I give. Same thing can be applicable for XYZ bank and RBI. Means if XYZ bank finances some tractor loans and then these are sold or refinanced from RBI, that is called as refinance from RBI. So these cannot be the part of your operating expenses. Remember this. So only 1 and 2 is the right answer. Okay. Now, got it? Only 1 and 2 is the right answer. Now, before going, everyone, kindly join the Zeal batch immediately. Okay? Let me show you. The Zeal batch, see this. It has just started. All the numericals, objective questions, case studies, everything is covered. All the subjects are covered, compulsory, all the compulsory subjects. The best part is the batch will end when your exam starts. So you'll have a fresh knowledge during the time of your exam. So this is very useful batch. Also you can join CIB Mahapack 2.0. In Mahapack what happens? You get multiple batches per subject. Multiple means around 15 plus batches per subject. Now if you are getting 15 plus batches and imagine if you do even 10 batches. Okay, 10 batches. So 10 batches means 10 times revision you are getting. So that is the beauty of Mahapack. And right now on Mahapack you are getting double validity offer. Let me show you. See this. Go to Adda 24/7. Always go through the app. Because in the app you get that coupon systems and 1% extra. Okay. So go through the app and get that 1% extra. So click on this JIB and CIB. Click on this CIB June 24. Okay. Zeal batch. Look at this. Click on the Zeal batch. Look at the details. Ebooks, test series, online live classes, counseling, recorded sessions, live sessions, doubt solving, experienced faculties, everything. And at what cost? Look at the cost. Click on buy now. Put the code Y432. Y432. Click on apply. See this 80% off. 80% plus 1% extra on the app. Okay. So 80% off. Also you can join the Mahapack. In Mahapack, if you see, you're getting double validity right now. Double validity means 6 plus 6 months. You buy for 6, you get it for 12. Buy for 12, you get it for 24. And offer is the same. Double validity is there and 80% is also there. Ebooks and everything. Here, all the features are the same. Additional feature is 15 plus batches. Never forget this code Y432. You'll get 80% off on this plus 1% extra. Okay. So that's why without fail join the Zeal batch or the